A longtime champion of women's political participation, a lawyer, a chartered mediator and conciliator, the president of Women in Politics Forum, Ebere Ifendu. Good to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Then, a poet, a writer, and the founder of Girls and Poems, a platform that helps girls connect with their feelings and heal through poetry and build their self-worth by reading, writing, and sharing poetry. Adeze Chrislyn Wampo. Good to have you on the show also.
Thank you so much.
All right. So I'm going to start with the this big question. 25 years after Beijing, why are we still having this conversation of women equality? Vindu, can you start?
Well, for me, I think we have tried, to work around it. We have, initially thought our issues were hinged on culture, on religion, finance, and the rest of it. But for me, I've discovered that it's actually on legislation.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you look at all the other countries where women are doing well politically and in every other sphere, there's this idea of quota system. There's affirmative action, and all the other bills and especially conventions that countries signed up to, they've domesticated. But in our situation, our case in Nigeria is that we sign up to those conventions and we do not ever domesticate in Nigeria. So because there is no legislation, you can't even hold anyone accountable. If you look at political parties, most of them have in their constitutions affirmative action, but they do not follow it because you can't hold them. INEC can't even question them. Because I raised it with the INEC chairman and I said to him, why is it difficult that a political party got registered from being an association to a political party using their constitution and their manifesto? They flaunt it and there is no consequence. And, the problem is INEC will tell you that their powers are limited. So for me, I discovered, and for every other woman in politics, we discovered that it's legislation that will help us, to conquer some of these challenges. Because if there's a legislation that says that there must be 35% of women in party structure, no political party will go against it because it becomes justiciable. Now we can go to court to challenge it.
Adeze, what's your take?
Yes, I do agree with her, but then we need to understand that cultural bias is something that has always been ingrained into us from time immemorial. Yes, as much as we try to look at the new ways we can shift attention from culture and social, political thinking, legislation can work if the people you're demanding the legislation from are those that have been enculturated to think women can't, actually do the things you're requiring them to legislate on.
Okay.
If they've been taught over time to shift their focus from what they are used to, it becomes really hard. Yes, I do agree with her that legislating these things are really important because they do help. They really give you, yes, you might not always agree with me as a man who is legislating this thing, but because legislation requires you to do this thing, you're actually forced to do them. But then cultural bias actually forces us to shift our thinking. It helps us really reason why we act the way we do. It brings to fore things that we would naturally just let go, and you question why they are.
Okay.
I've had situations, for instance, where you hear some men tell their sons, why did you come second or third? The girl who came first, why would you let a girl beat you?
Okay, we'll get more into the bias in just a moment. I'm told that Honorable Marriott is she's online now. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you? So much energy. I was watching your campaign video earlier on. I'm like, this is a force of nature. You look so calm and gentle, but when you're on the campaign trail, there's energy busting. How are you?
I'm good anyway. We thank God.
That's
and I want to say questions to every woman today.
Yeah.
Being the International Woman, we have tried in time past, and we are still working so hard to ensure that we have more women in position of power. Before now, I agree with one of the speakers that spoke that said that cultural barrier one of the challenges.
Yeah.
It's been a very, but with the way things are now, I think we have a lot of E for she's and Mr. Governors, even outside the executive, outside the legislation, outside the legislative arm of the government, outside the judiciary arm of the government. People are beginning to see that we women, we have content. They're beginning to see that we have what it takes. We're intelligent, we can actually deliver, we are go-getters. So I think what's been happening in recent time concerning women participation in politics is a right step in the right direction.
All right, that's great. So I'm going to ask this question. You're probably going to take turns answering, but let me start with a very vendor. Madam, what this year's theme for the celebration of the International Women's Day is Break the Bias. Now, very quickly, succinctly, what is bias? How does it play out in an African society, and how can we break it? That's a lot to ask, I know. Let's start with bias.
Okay, so
Definition.
Okay, so she started with culture and then talked about, part of what we do even at home, where we placed our sons, above our daughters.
Okay.
I remember that in the past that when there's a financial difficulty within a family, it's always the girl child that will have to step down from going to school. So these bias, some of them are very silent, but they are very important because they affect the girl child and affect women more. Okay. Apart from, asking a woman to step down, there are things that a woman can't do. I remember my sister-in-law telling us a story about when she got married. Because in her family, she used to, eat chicken and then eat eggs and everything. And so she got to her husband's house and she took that to her husband's house and they had to caution her. There's a part of chicken you're not supposed to eat as a woman. And this is meat.
She used to eat. She's used to having this by herself.
Yes, So the bias, some of them are really tiny, but they will go a long way to determine what will turn out to be your life in future. You are not supposed to be heard. You are a woman. Will you sit well? You have to sit and comport yourself. You have to behave as a girl. There's so many things that they keep telling you. Don't you know you are a woman? Don't you know you're not supposed to speak out? Don't you know you're not supposed to do this? So there's always what you're not supposed to do. So it starts from there.
All right. I was having this conversation yesterday with a friend, that we were talking about the issue of a widower, and just buries his wife. I remember, you need to settle down, you need to marry again, and the widow dies. And no, but I know how you didn't love your husband, you cannot. So tell us a bit about this issue of bias, how it affects us in Africa here.
Following your train of thought concerning widowers and widows, I still have friends who will actively tell me, my dad is 70-something. I'm looking for a young girl for him. And I'm like, okay, does he want this? Like, oh yes, he's been asking, are you comfortable with it? I'm like, yeah. And I have friends that it's the other way around. Their mom is like, 56 or something, and they're thinking, I want to start afresh. And you hear them say, oh no, it's not something you should do. Oh, ew, don't even talk about it. So this bias, this cultural bias that we keep creating around women, this thing where you feel a woman who is a widow can't have feelings, can't be human first and foremost, because your ability to feel doesn't just end simply because your partner dies. So if you feel the men can have feelings, they can have need, what makes you think women stop being human simply because they are women? So this bias is really worrisome, and that's why I think it's cultural. It's from childhood. It's something ingrained into
at an
our
early
mind.
stage that we need to deal with. Honorable Commissioner, I'm going to ask you the same question, and I would love to get your perspective on the political and economic side. You deal with this at that scale.
I support what the earlier speakers have said about cultural barriers. It's something that we have to grow up with. But we can't keep saying this and not then move forward. And it is the way forward that I think we should be thinking about. We've had wonderful in several industries that are doing so well, or that have done so well. So why are we different from men? We are in no way different from men. We have the ability, we have the capabilities, we have the content. Let's bring it to the table. Let's see how we can move our country, our states, our local governments forward, even by having more women. There are some roles that some men cannot play. It is not possible. It is better given to a woman. So why won't we be given that opportunity to do that? And like I said, I'm very happy at what is happening presently.
Okay.
Because a lot of people are beginning to put on beginning to think around that women have to be involved in a lot of things, most especially in politics. Politics, when I say politics, decision making. Why should they use me when it comes to voting? And when it's time to make decisions, I say I'm nobody. It shouldn't be so.
It shouldn't. Honorable Commissioner, if I may interject a bit, just to push the conversation further in your direction. As a man, I can tell you this: men are creatures of habit and comfort. We form this habit, we're comfortable with it. Please don't touch it, don't change it. We like this place. In order for you to move us out of our space, you have to give us a reason to move. So I'm going to ask you this question: how does gender bias affect us socio-economically speaking, that we can relate with?
Affects us socioeconomically. That's the truth. So badly. Before now, if we go through the statistics, even what we have presently, I think we have just 2 deputy governors in the country. We have 11 House of Rep members, just 4 senators in the country. And this is a country that women are over 40%. So what are we talking about? Now go step by step to look at what these women of impact have done.
Yeah.
Then you see that they're even doing better than their men counterparts. So why shouldn't we consider women? Why won't we consider women? I think for Nigeria to move from where it is now, socioeconomically, women have to be seriously considered, and I'm sure we will not disappoint them. We are not self-confident.
Okay.
We are leaders. I am a leader. Every woman should tell herself she's a leader.
All right, fantastic. I hear you, Madam Iberi. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you this one. We typically say that these biases, they are religious, they are cultural, they cannot be touched, they are sacred, they are sacrosanct. So how do you communicate this to something that is okay? This is out of reach. How do we message this requirement, this need for change?
First of all, is for us to understand that it's a myth for us to believe that it's cultural and it's religious.
Okay.
Why I'm saying this is, I just gave my sister an example where we were talking outside.
Okay.
A country like Pakistan, that is an Islamic Republic of Pakistan, at one point had a woman as a prime minister. And if you look at the growth that is happening in Saudi Arabia today and the United Arab Emirates, you begin to wonder, are they not also practicing Islam? So it's our mindset. Like you said, that men like comfort. When they get to a particular position, they don't want to move from there. But again, even when we are talking about culture, talking about religion and the rest, presently in Nigeria, we have 6 female ministers.
Okay.
Out of the 6 female ministers, 5 are from the north. Only 1 woman is representing the entire South. That's the South, South, Southeast, and Southwest.
Okay.
And so if it's culture, how come we have 5 women from the North?
Okay, so it's not, in your opinion, it's not cultural, it's not religious.
Because it's what we believe in and what we want to do. Because the same people that will bring up culture and religion are the same people who will present their children, who will present their wives.
Okay, I'm going to take it a step further. You're the poet, you're the writer, so let's approach this more philosophically. Now, the arithmetic of male superiority is 1 + half = 1 if it's male and = half if it's female. Now, this is the typical arithmetic that works in the mind of man. How do you begin to communicate to somebody that there is a flaw in your arithmetic without being aggressive? Because when you approach someone aggressively, they will respond, okay, you are threatening me, so I'm not going to listen to what you say. So how do we communicate this?
Let's bring it home.
Okay.
Let's take it back to our homes. You've had situations where your dad loses his job, your mom is not working because society demands that she's a full-time stay-at-home mother or something, or she earns lesser because we choose for women to either be teachers, tailors, those menial jobs that don't allow them earn more. And it falls back on everybody getting to, start selling on the streets or start trying to grab crumbs here and there to take care of the kids, or probably your dad dies early. You have family situations where they take properties from the husband, probably didn't do proper will, protecting the children. We've actually seen these things in the home.
Yeah.
So you see how economically empowering women in the long run aids the family.
So you were saying that the female dollar is no less a dollar than the male dollar. Therefore, we should treat all of them with
equal, yeah.
But there is a genuine concern that we will lose our culture, our way of life, our family structure, and all of that. What do you say to people who have these concerns and these fears?
Culture is not static. Culture. We used to kill twins in the past. We used to have situations where if you're a widow, if your husband is dead, your brother could marry you. Those things are changing. If those things could change, a lot more can change. Culture is what you make of it, is what we agree works for us, what we think is beneficial to the society, what brings value to people.
Okay.
We must be interested in actually evaluating those things that bring value to us. That way we are actually able to move forward.
Okay. So, Honorable Commissioner, from the conversations we've been having here, one thing has become clear, that this is not a cultural issue, it's not a religious issue, it's more of something of a flaw in our logic, in our perception. We have become accustomed to a way of living and doing things, and we don't want to. Why should we bother? It's working for me and it doesn't affect me. So how do we, going forward, you work in politics, where you see the biggest egos ever, how do women, how do the society as a whole begin this communication that we need to adjust ourselves, and this adjustment is good in a way that is not threatening, so that we don't have it shut down in certain places? How do we go about this?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, one thing we have to do, you start, like I told you, is a step at a time. And which I think we were able to do successfully was the National Progressive Women Conference we had in 2022 January. Where we intend that we have women speak in one voice.
Okay.
Because on begin to speak in one voice, I totally agree that part of our challenges in terms of participation of women in not just in politics and other things is cultural, because we are believed to not belong to some particular, not to go to some particular areas. But now, things are changing. I love that statistic she gave us, that out of the 6 ministers that we have in the country, 5 are from the north. Initially, you will say a guy, or you say anybody from the north will not allow a woman to represent them. But things are changing. So I think that with this program that we've had, and we are echoing what we are saying and what we've been saying about women doesn't have to be involved. We cannot be sitting back at home.
Okay.
Those contents cannot be.
I'm going to, sorry, Honorable Commissioner, please, I beg to interject just to move your question forward. Most recently, we had the National Assembly shut down several gender bills, and one of the biggest one was, that annoyed a lot of people, was the female Nigerian citizen is not equal to the male Nigerian citizen in terms of passing citizenship. Now, if you say we have made progress, why did we have such a thing happen at the national stage?
No, let me tell you something. Even if that program did not come on board, I'm sure something like that would have happened. That has happened is a challenge, and we'll look for a way to go about it. That has happened should not stop us from getting to where we want to get to. And definitely we'll get there. I am rest assured that we'll get there. I'm rest assured that come 2023, it's not going to be the same as we had this in 2019. Because women are there. We have women of substance. Don't you get it? Women of substance. Women that are delivering better than men.
I totally agree with you. I was warning, I told you, when she starts campaigning, she goes off, she has the energy. All right, we just have a minute left for this section of the show. So I'm going to ask you to put in a few words in 20 seconds for each person. So, Honorable Commissioner, let's start with you. Your last words with us.
Okay, I just want to advise every woman in this country that you should know that you are a born leader. You are not a second fiddle. And come 2023, if you are interested, please come out. we must have more women participation in politics and other industries. Thank you.
Wow. Madam Berry.
Well, I'll say that women are more determined now. And if you've been following activities, you know for the past 2 weeks we've taken over the media in Nigeria.
Back to your camera.
You also know that women are working together now. There's that cohesion, and it means that 2023, like Honorable said, women are more determined this time to vote and to be voted for. So it's also something good that the Electoral Act is already signed, and this means that we'll be able to, get our votes to count. There will no longer be opportunity for ballot box snatching, and Nigerian women will come out, and this time to vote out the people that refuse to support our cause, because the National Assembly will have to have a kind of, consequence for the action that they took against us.
Fantastic. Our poet.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think representation matters. I feel we need to take action. We've tried the old pattern. How about try something new? We've seen it in places like Finland. So let's domesticate same here and see if we won't see the difference between just having one gender run business as before and having mixed genders in a society where everybody bringing their best foot forward. Yeah.
Wow, thank you very much. So our guests have been talking of the issue about gender balance, gender equality all across Africa, breaking the bias, and it's been a fantastic conversation. Thank you very much for joining us.